Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Right, today let's take a look at every Premier League club and find one opposition player who almost became that club's hero. A man who, if everything had gone to plan, would still be sung about by each respective group of fans. In the same way Mario Mandzukic could run for President of Ireland and win. Right, let's take a look. Arsenal, Luka Milojevic. Yeah, this seems weird. On what planet were Arsenal ever close to falling in love with Luka Milojevic? Some bang average, penalty midfield merchant of Crystal Palace. Sure, the man was born with ice cool blood in his veins, a steel composure from 12 yards out, but the world will have forgotten who he is in 5 years. Why would the Arsenal fan base, a group of men who push their blood pressure to violent extremes, why would they ever worship this guy like a golden god? Well, I'll tell you. When a big club goes 16 years without a league title and are one of the few English giants yet to lift the Champions League, things like unbeaten seasons become very important. Once that record goes, they literally have nothing to brag about left. And so, understandably, in the winter of 2017, they were worried. Man City under Pep Guardiola were a runaway train. They had just won 18 games in a row, dropped 2 points all season. They were unstoppable. And then, New Year's Eve, they're drawing 0-0 at Sellers Park. Palace won a last-minute penalty. If Milojevic scores this, chucking City's unbeaten run in a wood chipper, he'd probably have a shrine erected outside the Emirates. And so now, Arsenal fans probably show them the same ambivalence they have towards public dignity. Aston Villa, Lukas Djukovic? Let's be clear, Aston Villa and Birmingham City fans do not like each other. And so, would Villa fans have liked to see their rivals get chucked into League One? Without a shadow of a doubt, they probably wouldn't be able to contain their laughter. And they nearly got their wish. Last day of the 13-14 championship season, Birmingham needed a point at Bolton to stay up. And in the 76th minute, Lukas Djukovic, an Englishman with a Polish name who nearly played for Ireland, bangs home what looks to be the winner for the Trotters in the 76th minute. Had Paul Kaddish not scrambled a heroic last minute leveller for Birmingham to keep them up, I'm pretty sure this guy, a painfully bang average top flight centre forward, would be a Villa Park hero. Bournemouth, Josh Labady. Let's be honest, Bournemouth fans wanted the 12-13 League One title. They didn't get it, settling for second place, just 1 point by Doncaster Rovers. They bottled it on the final day of the season, drawing 0-0 to Tranmere Rovers. But had they done their job, they'd have Josh Labady to thank, some teenage midfielder who'd given Notts County a 1-0 win at Donnelly the previous week. This goal opened up the title race. It allowed Eddie Howe's men to go on and lift the thing. That goal was like a gift wrap present. But no, they couldn't take advantage. Brighton, Chris Wood. Yeah, Brighton fans are confused. Why would they give two hoots by the elbow swinging gargoyles to confront for Burnley? Because lads, he nearly gift wrapped you the championship title on a platter. With just 4 games left of the 16-17 championship season, Newcastle were cruising to a 1-0 home win over Leeds United, which would have put them back to within just 2 points of top of the table Brighton. And then Chris Wood pops up with a last minute equalising volley to silence the Geordies. It was a goal celebrated in Brighton as the gap edged to 4 points. As long as Chris Hughton's men didn't suffer an end of season collapse, as long as the brains of his defenders didn't turn into soggy wet porridge, they'd be lifting their first piece of silver in over 20,000 years. But no, it didn't happen. Burnley, Jamie Redknapp. Listen, Blackburn Rovers' Premier League title triumph in 1995 would not have gone down well with local rivals Burnley. This was the same season where they were relegated to League One, sentenced to trips to Wrexham, Stockport County and York City. The last thing they needed was seeing Chris Sutton's smug face holding English football's biggest prize, and their wish was nearly granted. Last day of the season with Blackburn and Man United neck and neck at the top of the table, Jamie Redknapp batters home a winner for Liverpool against Kenny Dalglish's men. It should have been enough to stop them winning the title, but no, Sir Alex Ferguson's men slipped up themselves at West Ham, failing to capitalise, and so no, sorry about that Burnley. Chelsea, Rocky Santa Cruz. Yes, the 07-08 season, when a managerless Chelsea, I mean pretty much, Avram Grant was about as motivational as a bowl of Cocoa Pops. It was a season where Chelsea almost put Man United to the title, finishing second by just 2 points. Listen, Chelsea came close, and by mid-April, it looked like the title race had swung in their favour. Rocky Santa Cruz had put Blackburn 1-0 up at home to Man United. Had this game ended 1-0 to Blackburn, there would be a 1 point gap with Fergie's men who still had to travel to Stamford Bridge. This was crucial for Chelsea that Blackburn beat Man United. There had been a litany of West Londoners christening their newborn children Rocky. Except no, Carlos Tevez then bags an 88th minute equaliser, meaning United could afford to lose at Stamford Bridge the next week, which they did, and still coast to the league title. Crystal Palace, Naby Sarr. Again, Crystal Palace fans are not big fans of Charlton Athletic and wish them nothing but the worst. So in last season's League One playoff final against Sunderland, Palace fans must have loved the fact that Charlton centre-back Naby Sarr scored a ridiculous own goal, back passing into his own net after just 5 minutes. If Charlton had lost that game, Palace fans would probably sing that man's name for the next 3 decades, just laughing at him. But no, in true Sunderland fashion, they bottled it, so sorry about that Palace, your rivals came up. Everton, Hernan Crespo. Istanbul 2005 was every Everton fan's worst nightmare. Against all odds, they just finished above Liverpool in 4th spot. Except they weren't assured of the Champions League just yet. Nobody had a clue what would happen, what UEFA would do if 5th place Liverpool somehow beat AC Milan in Istanbul. Would Everton be demoted to the UEFA Cup like Tottenham were in 2012? All they needed was for Milan to do their jobs, beat Everton's city rivals and put put them out of their goddamn misery, and they nearly obliged, shooting into a half-time 3-0 lead, Hernan Crespo scoring twice. Had that scoreline stayed the same, Everton fans would be getting tattoos of that man's face on their arse. But no, Liverpool fought back and won. Everton fans probably felt like pulling out their own eyes. Leicester Alan Quinn. Ah yes, the final day of the 07-08 season when Leicester under Ian Holloway somehow got relegated to League One. A 0-0 draw Stoke on the last day of the season wasn't enough, although it would have been had Sheffield United done them a favour at Southampton. A Blades win would have sentenced the Saints to the drop instead of Leicester, and they went 1-0 through Alan Quinn. When that goal went in, Leicester fans probably loved him more than their own wife. But no, Southampton came back to win 3-2 to relegate Leicester, so sorry about that, Queenie. At least your mother still loves you. Liverpool Glenn Murray. Glenn Murray is going to finish his career without ever playing for European giant, but lads, for a brief moment, he was on course to become one of the biggest legends in Liverpool's recent history. Honestly, they would have loved him as much as Stevie G. On the final day of last season, there were 45 seconds where Liverpool were top of the league, on course to lift their first ever Premier League title. Glenn Murray had headed Brighton into an unlikely 27th minute lead against Man City. Had that scoreline stayed the same, 1-0 to Brighton, Murray would be granted the freedom of Anfield Road. He'd have Scousers spending their summer writing him fan mail. He'd almost be awarded presidency of the club. But no, City equalised within a minute, 4-1, and so no, sorry about that, Murray. Man City, John Terry. Yeah, after John Terry turned down Man City one summer, pissed off their left back costing him a World Cup place the next season, I'm pretty sure City fans would rather eat a bowl of dog food than admit their fondness for this man. But he so very nearly became their club hero. In May 2008, City had just been smashed up 8-1 at Middlesbrough. Their popular manager had been sacked. Their owner was on the run. They were a club in crisis. The last thing they needed was watching Manchester United lift the Champions League in the Moscow rain, and they nearly didn't have to. Had John Terry not slipped and just thumped his penalty down the middle, Chelsea would have won that trophy. Cristiano Ronaldo would have been severely dehydrated from the amount of water he'd have lost through his goddamn tears. But no, Terry missed his penalty, ruining every Man City's goddamn summer. Man United, Jamie Mackie. Similar to Glenn Murray, Man United almost had a bang average journeyman centre forward to worship for the rest of their lives. Against all odds, City were bottling the last day of the 11-12 season. If they didn't beat QPR, Man United were going to be lifting the Premier League title at Sunderland. And in the 66th minute, Jamie Mackie puts 10-9 QPR 2-1 up. In that exact moment, every Manchester United fan on the face of the earth could have converted to the religion of all things Mackie. This woefully average striker, he'd be an Old Trafford god for life. But no, City fought back, won the league, and so sorry about that, Jamie. Newcastle, Darren Gibson. I know what you're all thinking. Why would Newcastle fans like Darren Gibson, a Sunderland reject whose blood levels are surely made up of 60% whiskey? Look at him, he looks like his pre-match meals consist of pizza. Well, I'll tell you. Final day of the 08-09 season, Newcastle know if they get any sort of result at Villa Park, coupled with a Hull City home defeat against Man United, they will survive. And for 40 minutes, they are staying up. Darren Gibson had just belted in a 24th minute winner at Hull, with Newcastle drawing 0-0 at Villa Park. Had Damien Duff not then scored an own goal to send them down, Gibson would be due a free pint in Newcastle for the rest of his life, and you know he'd take advantage. Norwich, Glyn Hodges. Again, Norwich do not like to see Ipswich do well. During the 93-94 season, the Canaries were 12th in the top flight, while Ipswich were perched on the edge of the drop zone. Had Sheffield United held on to their final day 2-1 lead at Stamford Bridge through Glyn Hodges' strike, Ipswich would have gone down. But no, they didn't. Ipswich survived, and Hodges is long forgotten. Sheffield United, Hugo Rodallega. Sheffield United fans have spent many years hating all things West Ham. Some of them still do. Ever since controversially staying up with the ineligible Carlos Tevez at the Blades' expense in 2007, those fans have probably been wishing relegation on the Hammers ever since. And they almost got the wish in 2010. West Ham were playing Wigan in a must-win game. A win would have seen survival. And now, Hugo Rodallega silenced Upton Park with a second-half equaliser. But no, Scott Parker scored the winner and kept them up, so sorry about that. Southampton, Aidan McGeady. Again, just more derby rival bitterness. I'm pretty sure most Southampton fans were wishing Sunderland to beat Portsmouth in last season's EFL Trophy final in Wembley. Anything to prolong their derby rivals' pain. And hey, Aidan McGeady tried his best, scoring twice against them, and a penalty in the shootout. Had Sunderland won this game, McGeady would have briefly been the most popular man in Southampton. Tottenham, Arjen Robben. Tottenham fans desperately needed this to go in. Arguably the worst night in their fans' lives. Yes, they finished 4th in the league, but they knew a Chelsea win in the 2012 Champions League final out in Munich, it would have demoted them back to Thursday night football. And in extra time, Bayern win a penalty. Robben has the chance to finally beat Chelsea, assuring Spurs of a Champions League place the next season, and he bottles it. Watford, Bertrand Chalina. Last season's FA Cup final was absolute torture for Watford. 6-0 and it could have been worse. But in the quarter-final, Bertrand Chalina had put Swansea 2-0 up against Man City. Had they held on, Watford's opponents in the final would have been either Brighton or Swansea. So let's be honest, they would have probably won, owing it all to some lad from Kosovo. West Ham, Michael Ricketts. Final day of the 02-03 season, when West Ham somehow got relegated with 42 points. Mental. They desperately needed Bolton to lose at home to Middlesbrough. Bolton went 2-0 up through Per France and a JJ Okocha, but Michael Ricketts had the deficit in the second half. Had Borough gone on to win, West Ham fans would have loved him forever. Wolves Jamie Ashdown. Very simple. Final day of the 04-05 season. Wolves desperately wanted their local rivals West Brom to join them in the Championship. It's the final day of the season. 0-0 with Portsmouth at the Hawthorns. Jamie Ashdown had produced a number of great saves in the Pumpy net, and if he'd kept himself a clean sheet, relegating West Brom, he'd have been a hero of Wolverhampton. But he didn't. He conceded twice, and that was that. Anyway, that's it, lads. Tell me what you think. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I'll talk to you in a while.